Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Lamarque, Texas will conduct a special meeting on August 22nd, 2022, beginning at 1 p.m. in the council chambers at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas, as well as via video conference hosted through Zoom. In accordance with section 551.127B of the Texas Local Government Code, the presiding officer and the quorum of the Lamarque City Council intend to be and will physically be present at 1109 B Bayou Road, Lamarque, Texas. This location will be open to the public and the meeting will be broadcast at this location on Channel 16 and via YouTube. The council will meet for the purpose of considering the following agenda. The meeting has been called to order. And Kiara, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember District A,
Here.
Councilmember District B,
Present.
Councilmember District C,
Present.
Councilmember District D is not present, and Mayor.
Thank you, Kiara. We will now have our invocation and pledge. We will ask Councilwoman Kimberly Yancey to lead us in our invocation and Council Member Michael Carlson to lead us in our pledge.
This afternoon, God, we thank you for waking us up this morning. We thank you for the abilities of life and liberty. We pray now that you will protect us and that you will guide us. We pray for covering as this weather comes through this week. We pray for our staff. We pray for our school systems as they are all going back to school this week. God, we love you. We praise you, and we pray that you will tell us what we need to do and show us what we need to do. But most of all,
Out to those persons that are here in person. Mr. Lowry. Welcome. Name and address, sir.
Joseph Lowry, 2503 Cedar Drive. I want to bring up, and this time, as you just stated, there's not to be like rebuttals and stuff from council when we speak. And I want to reiterate to the citizens that there has not been a forensic audit in this city. Quit giving the impression that there has been a forensic audit. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. It needs to happen, and I've asked for it a couple of times, and I'm going to ask for it again. Council has to initiate a forensic audit. It hasn't been done. The taxes that are coming up, there was a vote to increase it. Apparently, you guys didn't get the message from the community when 72% of the voters decided to lower our taxes. Pay attention to what the citizens are saying. This is not a dictatorship. Listen to your constituents. Listen to the voters. I also want to bring up the lawsuit that was brought against me. It has been dismissed. as it was wrongfully brought against me.
Well, just, if we can just stay on.
It has to do with the council person bringing
I
a frivolous lawsuit
I-
against the
I
citizen.
understand, but
And I have every right to talk about it. Are we gonna start my time over?
no,
Hold on. We can't, hold on a minute, hold on a minute.
all I was gonna say is just no personal attacks. That's all I was gonna say.
Understood.
So the comments about the nature of it.
Thank you.
No.
I had a
We
frivolous.
restarted it. We reset it for the time allotted. I
Thank you.
apologize.
Thank you. I had a frivolous lawsuit brought against me by a council person, Ms. Yancey. It was
As I said,
dismissed. Sorry, I won't bring up name, by a councilwoman.
and the nature.
And it was dismissed, and it's a very dangerous thing. Especially a TRO, like a restraining order. And I agree with what the judge did, as he has to err on the side of safety. But it's a very dangerous thing, and it was abused. It was abused, and it can be abused again, and it's a very dangerous thing. And I'm just happy to say that it was dismissed. And I look forward to the upcoming lawsuit, and we'll,
It was not dismissed. That's all I'm
Wait,
saying.
Let's just keep
it was dismissed.
Kim,
Okay.
Wait. Are you done, Joseph? Thank you. Kim, is there a point of information?
There is a point of information. It was not dismissed. Our attorneys are talking about it, but again, it's not a council issue.
Okay,
it's
now
personal.
we're done. Now we're done with it. Now we're done with it. Now we're done with it. Now we're done. Now we're done with it. Now we're done with it. It's okay. It's okay.
And I'll let my attorney know.
Kim, we're done with it. We're done with it. We're done with it. It's okay. We're gonna take a pause, take a beat.
Don't say it.
We're gonna breathe a little bit.
Sick.
It's okay, Kim. We're gonna breathe a little bit. It's okay. Refocus. Mr. Mitch Stitch, you're welcome, sir. You're next. Let's give Mr. Mitch Stitch our attention. Name and address, sir.
Robert Mitchstitch, 24 North Curlew Street, Marque. To address council about the resolution that y'all are planning to put on the November 8th ballot for a 53-cent tax rate. I sent an email to the city on Friday. Y'all have failed to publish. This is setting a tax rate. It's not a proposed. This is setting a tax rate. You have failed to produce the publications to the public in the newspaper. Plus, you have violating our own charter, our own, constitution. I mean, when you think about it, we're supposed to have tax hearings over this, and yet it's not. And you think you just can put it on there. My letter to this, and I warned. And I sent it to Mr. Nabel and I sent it to Mr. Garcia, was that I will file an action against the city for a declaratory action with the district court because of this, if y'all proceed. So that's your choice. And, but you're not listening to the people and you're not following our own charter. So it's like, you want to just do anything you want, but yet you want the public to follow the law. Shame.
Is there a point of information, Mr.
May I? We can, I advise if the council has questions about this, they can ask me when we get to the item. Because one of the item is discussion of the tax rate. So if the council has concerns about that, we can address
Very
that.
good. We
Thank
can do it then. We can do it then. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Mr. Osteen, welcome, sir. Name and address.
James Osteen, 2012 Jaredona Street in Lamar. Got several issues here I want to bring to y'all's attention. And on August the 8th, we had a first reading on two ordinances. Well, 3, 007, 008, and 009. The 009 first reading was published on the 12th, which is 4 days after y'all passed the first reading. The other two ordinances hadn't been published yet. Our charter states it shall be done in 10 days, within 10 days. The 10th day for them two ordinances would have been the 18th, and today's the 22nd. That's a violation of our charter and ordinances. So them haven't been published yet. To my knowledge, I've got all the papers and I've read them several times, and I hadn't seen it published yet.
Sure.
Okay. On y'all's business today, y'all have on here that you're gonna have a first reading of ordinance 0011, but that's not on a website. We can't look at what that ordinance says or anything. It's not in a, I talked to the city clerk and she said she don't even have a copy of it to, just for the meeting. Same with resolution 0061. It's not in a packet where we can look at it out there, public. You know, there's no transparency if we can't read that stuff. I really don't think you can take any action on either two of them tonight because, or today, because it's not within a 72-hour notice. Y'all might take that in consideration,
Yes, sir.
but I would like to see those two ordinances published because citizens don't know anything about it if it's not published, that y'all even had a reading on it.
Sure. Gus, can you resolve this issue during the time that we're in executive session?
Yes, and I can answer the questions when we get regarding the notice in open council.
Okay, very good. Is that good, James? Yeah. All right, thank you. Anybody showed up on online? All right, Miss Lori, if you wish to speak, raise your hand if you know how. Unmute yourself if you don't. Okay, well, let's move forward to item 5, executive session. The City Council of the City of Lamarque, Texas reserves the right to adjourn into executive session at any time during this meeting to discuss any of the matters listed above as authorized by the Texas Government Code, section 551.071. Uh-oh.
You're 3 minutes, brother.
551.071, consultation with attorney. 551.072, deliberations about real property. 551.073, deliberations about gifts and donations. 551.074, personnel matters. 551.076, deliberations about security devices. 551.086, economic development. We are going into executive session concerning 5.1, section 551.071, consultation with attorney. Proposed 53-cent tax rate for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Kiara, do you have the time?
It's 119.
1:18. We will recess into executive session at 1:18. We are back. What time are we back here?
2:36.
2:36. We are at item 6. Actions to be taken from executive session. 6:1, section 551.071, consultation with attorney, proposed 53-cent tax rate for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. I am opening this item, council, before we get into any discussion. Gus, there were several things brought to the attention of this council by a couple of the members that spoke earlier.
Sure. and-
Could you speak to those? And also, Mr. Osteen had some questions about some issues of ordinance.
Absolutely. And if you like, Mayor, we can just, if you like, we can just move to item 7, the ordinances, because it is this ordinance that's being considered from executive session.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so regarding the ordinance 2022-0011, the ordinance adopting a tax rate, just first of all, this is a first reading. Lamarque has 2 ordinances, or a 2 reading requirement. So this is just the first reading of that. This ordinance was placed on the agenda along with the accompanying resolution as a means to the Attorney General's office. We understand an opinion has been requested from them regarding issues arising from the tax rate worksheets. This ordinance was placed on there to ensure that the city council just had time so that the item remained there so that the council could consider it. It is not so that it was just placed, again, it was there for consideration. We kept it. I understand we haven't heard from the AG's office. So that is how that is handled. We are comfortable, myself, Mr. Pfeiffer, who is in the front row, regarding the timing and what the case law says on tax law, on the adoption of tax rates. It was again, just there to provide a plan and an option to the council that we felt complied with the law. Both the statutes and the case law as the courts have interpreted those statutes for the past 100 years. That's all it was. Regarding the issue of proper notice, the Texas Government Code provides that we provide or sets out that the governing body has to provide notice of the time and the place. That was done. It also sets out that we have to provide the general subject of the that's being considered or that would be considered by the governing body. That's what the ordinance, or that's what the meeting notice does. I think by the community's involvement, the community is aware of the 53 cents, whether the community supports it or not. It was put out so that the community would be aware of it and could then come and make their thoughts known to council as they chose to do. To sum up, as to the ordinance, we felt that this was a matter that was in keeping with not only the statutes, but the case law that have interpreted the statutes. And I can speak to the resolution now, or I can wait till we get to it. At that time, it's up to you, Mayor, however you'd like me to handle it.
Well, I think we got into it pretty good. I think we can, if you prefer to move down, get us past the executive session and move down more into areas where you feel more comfortable discussing this, we can do that.
Well, yeah, it's entirely up to you, Mayor. It's just, I know that depending on how the ordinance goes, I'd be happy to discuss the election resolution now, or I can do it when we get there. It's whatever you and the council would prefer.
Let's get through 6.
Since the the action from executive session is the same as the ordinance, the Mayor Pro Tem just moved us.
Oh, you
along
moved us.
to
Okay, Joe.
to
So we're at
7.
7. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at 7, guys. We can at this point entertain a possible motion.
What was the motion before? To set it at 53 cents?
Yes.
Let me read while you're thinking about that, Joe. Let me read it. 7-1 ordinance number letter O dash 2022 dash 0011. An ordinance levying ad valorem taxes for use and operation for the municipal government of the city of Lamarque, Texas for fiscal year 2022 tax year, providing for apportioning each levy for a specific purpose, providing when taxes shall become due and when same shall become delinquent if not paid. Now I will entertain a motion. Does this motion have to be the 53-cent motion? Yes. All right, we got to deal with the 53. So I'll entertain a motion for the 53 or against the 53. Doesn't matter to me.
I don't know, excuse me, I don't know if
And-
you could do a motion against the 53, but if there is no motion, then
The motion dies.
Then-
Then the
there
motion
is-
would fail.
this
That
would
is
fail,
correct.
right?
Let's do
That is
that.
correct.
All right, well, I'm not making a motion.
All right, I will entertain a motion for approval. One more time for the record. I will entertain a motion for approval. Very good. The ordinance fails at 53 cents due to lack of motion. I will entertain a motion for a new number.
We're not there yet.
Where are we?
I'm sorry, we're not noticed for that. So we'll,
So
so
how
staff
do we
will,
proceed?
staff
we
will
come
bring,
back?
staff will bring back, yes.
Very good, very good. All right, now we're at item 8. Resolution 8-1, resolution number letter R 2022 0061, a resolution of the city council of the city of Lamarque, Texas, calling for a special election to be held November 8th, 2022, and administered by the Galveston County Elections Division for the purpose of establishing a tax rate at 53 cents. Notices of the election to be given as prescribed by law in connection with such election.
Yes, Mayor. So this is the resolution
Okay.
that accompanied the tax rate ordinance. This resolution, as Lamarque calls all of its elections, that's why it's a resolution. It would have called the required election under the Texas tax code for the approval of a rate above the de minimis rate. Since there are quick timing requirements under the election code that we have to comply with. That is why, again, this resolution was put on here. This resolution was put on here so that staff could present the option to council, and that should council have chosen to move forward with ordinance 0-2022-0011, then we would have needed to call that election today. So again, it was here to preserve the option for council. So that calls the required election, since the tax rate ordinance was not passed, then the election would not be necessary, generally speaking. Are there any other questions regarding that?
Is this where we're gonna talk about it? Just the area.
Talk about,
Discuss.
y'all could discuss this resolution if you would like. This resolution again was there that should the council have chosen the 53-cent tax rate, the election would have been required, and we wouldn't have had time to call a new meeting. So that's why
Yeah.
it was not done as a way, as some sort of presumption. It was done because it is required, and we wanted to be efficient with our time. And if it had been required, we could have called it, but since it is not required. So now the effect of not adopting ordinance 2020 is that now the council does not have time to call an election for a tax rate that would trigger an automatic election. So by default, you would have to adopt a tax rate that does not trigger the automatic election.
So let's do this right here. I think we want to have some discussion. So we are talking about a 53-cent rate in election that we perhaps may not call based on what you said. But I believe Councilwoman Yancey wants to have some discussion on this. So go ahead. Go
Well,
ahead.
it's important to me that we make this as clear as possible, and I'm so glad you're here today, Justin, to explain this. from what we have state guidelines, and then you have charter guidelines that we are bound by. And I will say this, it was an error. An error was made. And this is why we're in this predicament. I do call on our residents to write to Senator Bettencourt and the AG's office in general to get a formal opinion on this, because we as a city have been harmed for the last 3 years due to an error. And you may ask, well, how have we been harmed? We have people who have left to go to other cities because of not being able to give proper raises. We have services that we have not been able to give because of the lack of funds. And at the same time, we are called to balance our budget. We are also called to give a excellent services. And this council, this administration is very committed to that. But I do want our residents to know, Mayor, that we, as citizens of Lamarque, have been harmed. There was an error. The question becomes, what is the redress to that? The SB2 does not speak to that redress and that remedy. And we're asking for clarification on that. I am not so much about who's at fault. The question is, how do we get our money? At the end of the day, how do we deal with the money that was lost? Will it be done in a credit form? And that impacts all of us, because all of us pay taxes. All of us get services from the city. And so it's important that District A residents understand what is happening here and why it's important to have a correct worksheet that is signed by our tax assessor, who, by the way, said right here, July 13, 2021, when we pushed back about the numbers. My distinguished Councilman Joe Compion was the one that asked those questions about the very numbers that we're talking about. And she pushed back, and here we are today. Now, how do we as a city get that money accredited back to us? We should not have to go into our reserves. We should not have to do other things due to a county error. And I'm asking the city of Lamarque to stand together on this one. And if we can't stand together on this one, the question is why? Because if we've been harmed as a city due to a mistake, then we need to come together as a city and set the blueprint for what happens when there's an error. And so as a person that loves the law and loves government, it is fascinating to me that even my former professors at the University of Texas at Austin are shaking their heads at this one too. But it is going to take Senator Bettencourt and his staff, who was a sponsor of this bill, and also the AG's office to give a formal opinion on that. And I would hope that our staff will continue to do that, even if, I know your services will definitely be cut because, but at the same time, we've got to make sure that, and I just want to thank you too for all your hard work and trying to balance the budget and make sure that this is right and to set a precedent. So I just want to make sure, and I'm here for any questions. Anyone wants to call me personally to help explain this, I would love to do that because it is somewhat difficult to understand. I know Joe and I have done a lot of work on this as well, and certainly Cesar and the mayor and Gus, thank you for everything that you've done regarding this, but we're going to fix it and we are going to set a standard of excellence. And I'm glad that this council chose another auditor so we can find this thing back. And thanks, Joe, for pushing back on July 13, 2021.
Council, any other questions or comments as relates to this item or to this, what Gus described for us and for the audience earlier?
Mayor, if you'll permit me, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I guess there's a reason for that, right? To listen more and talk less. But this is a moment where I guess I should talk. Last meeting, with the first introduction of this, I said that we were proposing this 53 cents because we needed to preserve some rights. The rights being, this is the first time that anybody has identified an error like this. And we want to get the numbers right on the tax calculation worksheet. And even the tax assessor collector's office agreed with that as well too. Let's try to get some right numbers. And as part of that effort, there was initiated an outreach to Senator Bentoncourt's office by her office that seeks clarification on the part of the AG as to what, if anything, can be done to correct this error. Is there an obligation under the law to make corrections? That's number one, fundamentally. Is there an obligation? So that's what this research is going on. On Friday, I had a brief opportunity to talk with staff from his office that's involved in this, and they assured me that they're trying to light a fire under the AG to get an opinion out on this as well too, a soft opinion. We're still pushing for that because, as Gus mentioned, and as Justin, our outside counsel, has also noted for us, we are under some very tight deadlines to meet the election, the tax code, and then our own city charter in terms of the obligations that are set forth there. Having said that, that 53 cents, and you wonder why there was no action, that was because we can, having set it higher, we can reduce it, right? The goal was we needed to have that ability, that flexibility, while these issues were trying to be ironed out. And I guess that's where we find ourselves, Mayor. Number one goal, let's correct the errors. Can we all agree with that? I think that's important. Math, we need errors corrected from here on. I want to interject at this point. I'm going to do a bit of a, excuse me, Joseph Lowry, but a Joseph Lowry here and remind everybody again too, we still need some work on our finances here in the city, right? I'd like to see a 3 and a 5-year plan out there, because that will give us a snapshot of where we have to go, and there are issues. SB 2 does, one of the goals, as I understand it, and looked at the legislative history, was to, of course, keep our property taxes low, but at the same time open up the option for cities to charge for services and to collect fees in another manner. I think the city manager is very knowledgeable and has been working on that to look at those options for it to present us a balanced budget. So what I'm just saying briefly is that this is all, even for me, very confusing. I'm just making it simple. I want to see corrected sheets. That's all. How do we get there? Whether it's the AG office or other options, I'm not going to let that go away. Just make sure that we have corrected sheets. And I'm also told that there's perhaps another community or two that are facing a similar situation. But once again, that's not been it's something of the, as they say, of first impression. And we're seeing what we can do with regard to our little role in helping all of our communities across Texas and the taxpayers of Texas to be appropriate, to be accurately assessed the taxes that are contemplated under SB 2. And is that pretty accurate, Justin, Pfeiffer, and Gus on that side? And once again, I share, and you guys know this already, call me anytime. I love to sit down to go over on this issues. The goal is not to set the rate of 53 cents. It never was. It was a strategy here as we work through this on that side. And And so having said that, just Mayor, if I'm not mistaken in saying this, is that since the first ordinance, since we didn't pass for lack of a motion, there will be no need to take any action on this second item as well.
Right.
Is
Right.
that correct, Gus? Do we still ask for a motion or what?
You can ask for a motion if you like, but yes, there's really no need since by not calling the election, you would be limiting yourself to a rate that would not trigger an automatic
Okay.
election.
All right.
Yeah, we are simply leaving it open so that the council would have an opportunity to address the community. If there any thing that you'd like to say, or certainly ask questions of any one of those guests that we have. Michael, do you have any questions or comments?
Only thing I want to say is, for those that say we haven't listened to the constituents, we have. That's why there's nothing taken with the 53 cents. So take it for granted, or don't take it for granted that we don't care. We listen to y'all. We always have. Now, I'm with the Mayor Pro Tem. Let's get the sheets right so we can move forward together. What's been done in the past is done in the past. It's time to live in the present and move forward. So if we can get those sheets corrected, that will not only it'll be the mark for not just this council, but future councils. And that way we're doing the right thing. And everyone's getting the services that they deserve. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
One other quick comment. I'm sorry, just thought. The tax year 22-23 for the city of Lamarque is going to be a very lean year. I don't want to cover that up. It's going to be a very lean year. And I, as well as other council members, have asked the city manager to continue what he's been doing, is involving our community in these community discussion groups that he's had and set forth this information, right? This is the time to get us all engaged and trying to row this boat in the same direction as we get through this 22-23 tax year. But it will be lean, folks. It will be lean.
I certainly echo those comments. The inaction today by our council will definitely trim millions of dollars off of your proposed budget. Millions, plural. I think that we have to be careful. We have to make sure that as a community, we are doing what's best for Lamarque 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, because whatever's happening to us right now won't happen. It won't be forever. It's just a small blip in our history. And we ought to focus on getting this right for the future. We're going to fight it out. If folks are going to take sides, people are going to vote. We get it. Everybody gets it. But while we're doing that, leadership says we still have to make the right decisions for our community in the future. Because all of us still have to live here. And after November or whenever these dates will be, we're going to wake up the next morning, half of us or more than half are going to be happy, and the other half or less than half are going to be sad. And we're still going to walk outside to potholes and crime. And one person driving a fire engine to a house fire. It's immature to fight and focus primarily on the fight. It's mature to be able to move our city forward and have disagreements at the same time. And so as we do these actions, as we take action on behalf of our citizens, The one thing we all can agree on is we want better for our community. So let's throw all the rest of it out. That'll be settled. But if there are good ideas that come to the table, let's entertain them together, figure them out. If in fact we want what's best for the city. So 53 cents is not the way to go. Certainly we understood that. Let the record reflect, I voted against that. But now we are at a different reality. And we will proceed as a council. And certainly if you want to proceed with us, we need your input. But somebody has to make sure that for the next 5, 10, 15 years of this city's history, that we're moving in the right direction. And so that's what we'll do. That's all.
Do you want to say something first? I wanted to take a moment, Mayor, like if I may, not to get too much of religion into this, but Mayor Pro Tem, just indirectly right now, you just said something that you spoke to me without knowing that you spoke to me. Those of you that may or may not know, my grandmother played a very big role in raising me. And as I do before each one of these meetings, I actually pray. And I asked her to speak to me today in light of these times. And her favorite thing that she taught me was, you know, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. When you said that, it was very reflecting, especially since she passed this morning at 4:28 a.m. So I'm here with a heavy heart, but I'm encouraged.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged because I think we do have the solutions. I think we do have the opportunity. And with your support, I'd like to encourage us to have a budget town hall, maybe next week. Allow us to fully incorporate what we have. We do have the answers. We have possible solutions, whether it's a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. And I will say that our level of service and our level of growth that will take forward from this place forward will be directly attributed to how we take this next step. Whatever actions are taken following. I ask that you allow us a few days to grasp the changes that have occurred today, to reset ourselves. At least now we have our marching orders, present you with the accurate information that we need and the different options, and allow us a chance to provide you different ways that we could present to you to balance this budget accordingly. And if you allow us to do so, would like to do that in the form of a town hall meeting concerning our budget as early as the following week, not this week. I just need some time to get it right, to build a piece of what I shared with you guys as far as some of those plans, to make it tangible, palpable, and easily explainable to the public. And, you know, obviously all of you would be invited, but it's really primarily for the residents to take part in that. And if so, that they can play a role in that.
Can I
But-
say something too? When you do that budget town hall, Cesar, make sure you explain why even at 47 cents, it would still trigger a tax election based
Right.
on the worksheet that she's provided right today, the 22-23. I think that needs to be explained and why it's so important. You're a teacher, you're a retired teacher, so you know how to
Yes.
explain that. And why it's important that we get that number right. Because even the voters voted for 47, but we can't even do that
Correct.
based on her worksheet without triggering an election.
Right, and that's due to the omissions that were made and everything got us to this point. But yes, I will have no problem addressing that as part of that meeting. Should I have everybody's support to host something like that next week? And I'd like to do so in line with our current process for the budget. We have a deadline by our charter to present our budget. And I'd like to still adhere to our preliminary in-house deadline to get that done a week before the actual deadline. The deadline is September 27th, but we're on pace to hopefully have it done by September 20th. So I'm hoping that we could still do that and have the feedback in time to move this thing forward.
Very
Please-
good.
Please and thank you.
I think that I don't hear any objection to that. So let us know how that goes.
Certainly.
Certainly that'll be a time you can have with the constituents and Seems like that's an effective way of engaging. So we trust you on that one.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? All right, let's move on to item 9, appointments. Gary, you gave me a folder and I'm perplexed as to what I'm supposed to do with it. I see some names and people's information.
Those are the additional members for the TERS board.
I hereby nominate council in all seriousness. These are 3, we're adding 3, is that what you're saying? We're adding 3 members to the TERS board. I assume this is Omega Bay, looks like Omega Bay addresses.
Yes.
We're adding 3 members to the TERS board. These members are we are nominating these members as follows: Patricia Shipley, 1 North Pelican. Douglas, is it Boudouin? Is that what it is, Robert? Boudouin, Douglas Boudouin, 48 North Omega. And Cheryl Gray, 9 Sandpiper Street. Council, those are the 3 proposed new members to the TERS board at Omega Bay. I am making the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on these?
Question,
Go ahead, Jeff.
how many members on this board?
If I may, that's exactly what I wanted to clarify. I was gonna wait till after the action. The board calls for 10. We have voted in 5 at the previous meeting. These additional 3 brings us to 8. So I believe that they can now begin. And then in hopes that they can hopefully garner 2 additional desired appointees to bring to you for consideration.
Isn't that rather unusual just to have that even number of 10? How do you break, what is the majority to take action, pass? Okay,
To make any changes at this point, Gus, correct us if I'm wrong.
The 10 members were what was designated
Yeah,
in the
that-
original
Oh,
formation
that was
ordinance.
10. Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? New business, item 10. Looks like there's nothing but 10-1 items for the good of the order.
If I could remind everybody that we are hosting our first blood drive here recently. It'll be tomorrow. Kyle, if you could please share the QR code for those that may want to flash this. It'll also be going out via social media. It also went out to everybody via on all staff email. We're having the blood drive here tomorrow. Appointments are still available. As of this morning, there were still 14 appointments available. Our goal is to fill up our entire appointment slot. And I think there's different times that are available. I'll have Kyle express that and show that to the group here shortly. Besides that, that's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody have anything else?
Yes.
Yes,
Can I
sir.
get some added to the agenda for next meeting?
No, sir, you may not. Just teasing. Go ahead.
If I could we see what the numbers would be if we capped our reserve funds at like 35% and 40%? And if it still allows us that 90-day cap or that 90-day allowance? Thank you, sir.
Certainly.
Very good. You want that in information form?
Information, well, discussion and possible action, if it's even viable.
Very good. Anything else?
Other than that, thank you, staff, for all the hard work. Sorry to hear about your loss.
No worries.
I know we had another family member pass away and thoughts and prayers go out with her.
Certainly.
And the staff, thank you for everything you guys do and continue to do. And thank you, citizens, for attending and speaking up. That's all I have, sir.
Joe, Kim? You good?
Likewise, my sincere sympathy on your family loss.
Certainly.
Family is difficult. And also to Susie and the loss of her father
Yeah.
as well too. I don't know if guys knew that she also lost her father. And to all of you who are being challenged by illnesses or other deaths, our prayers, my prayers are out with you and your family. And thank you all for being here. That's all. Thanks.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say certainly my condolences to Cesar and to Susie. Many times I call Cesar and he's at the office after hours, and certainly Susie navigated this entire budget process. We knew it here, up here. Of course, we couldn't tell you with her father dying. Every day she was here fielding our questions. And so we honor the service of the men and women of our city, staff members who day in and day out give everything they have for our community. And we thank you all for that. And it's been rough on you all, and certainly it'll be rough for a few more moments. But I appreciate you, and I know that my conversations with this council, we all appreciate you and appreciate everything that you all have been able to do here for our great city. Perhaps there are some that wish to divide us, and we know that that'll happen in communities. It's happened here before in Lamarck. It'll happen in the future in Lamarck. I've been through some of those times. And here's what I would suggest to all of us: no matter where we fit, we're all a family. We'll get through this. We'll heal. We'll be friends and neighbors again. The fever has to break, and it'll break. But the most important thing that I wake up every morning and I try to say to myself, the most important thing for me is to do what's best for Lamarck, right? It doesn't matter, who says what or what issue there is in the day. You take them as they come. You try to be as best as you can be in every instance. You try to do the right thing and when you encounter and then when you exchange with people. But at the end of the day, my mindset is to do what's best for Lamarck. That's more important to me than anything. And so for this next 3 months, as we figure it out, fight it out, or whatever folks will do, at least the least we can do for our city is to wake up every morning and try to do one thing that we think would make our city better, regardless of who we think is right or who we think is wrong or what we think needs to change or what we think needs to stay the same. If everybody can agree that we wake up every morning from now until November just to do one thing, doesn't have anything to do with anybody else, what will my contribution be? Then we know at the end of this in November, we know that Lamarck will be better. It'll be better. Make no mistake about it. At the end of this, Lamarck will be better. Again, the fever has to break. We're okay. But in the meanwhile, this council has work to do. And so we intend to continue the work that we're doing. And I thank the council for the many moments and the many minutes that we have been together. Certainly, we will do everything in our power to continue to do what's best for our city. And we definitely do not want to forget the passing of former Mayor Geraldine Sam. Former Mayor Geraldine Sam passed here recently, and she was a trailblazer. She was a courageous individual, and I don't know if I have met anybody that loved our city more than Geraldine Sam. Now, I've met some people that loved our city just as much, but I can't say I've met anybody that loved our city more. And so we mourn the loss of one of our mayors. Certainly, we honor her and her contributions. I believe the homegoing celebration, Cesar and council, I believe the tentative date is September the 2nd. I believe that's a Saturday. It's not confirmed. Would you alert council of the confirmed date and get a head count from council? And Cesar, I don't know if you had staff members to those that would want to attend, I'm sure they would want a head count from the city's delegation. Thank you. Thank you. But we honor Mayor Sam and her passing, and certainly a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful daughter of Lamarque. We will certainly miss her. Anyway, did anybody else want to add anything about Mayor Sam? I know that.
Well, definitely, I mean, going back, my mother babysat her kids for a while, unknowns to her. Geraldine, being Geraldine, would just stop by like she's visiting and say, oh, you can watch the kids for a little while, get you Miss Campion, and then that she's tooling off for something else. So mom always remembers that when she sees her. I gave you free babysitting services, and God bless her. There was another person that I wanted to also recognize. I was asked, and I forgot, is also to express my sympathies for the passing of an amazing 99-year-old resident of our city, Miss Lucille Monych, Monych.
Yes. Oh, no.
Yeah, Miss Lucille passed away on her birthday, in
My
fact,
goodness.
when she turned 99.
Great volunteer,
So yes, she was.
right, James?
And
One of the greatest volunteers we've had.
so she also passed away, and our sympathies to her and the city. I hope the city, perhaps we can get a resolution for that or something. too, for her
Absolutely.
to-
Kiara, would you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. I know, Michael,
I have-
and I know we have thoughts on Mayor Sam.
Yes, I have a question, actually. Is the city doing any flowers, or has the family asked for anything in lieu of flowers?
The city is sending an arrangement for the services, once they're confirmed. And, to my knowledge, the family has not asked for anything in lieu of flowers.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, to answer that question, as is consistent as we did with a councilman that recently passed, we will be providing any services needed, whether from our fire, police, what have you, as requested by the family. We will be doing so, as well as our typical proclamation that we do, just to be consistent and out of respect to each former council member who may have been here or served in any capacity.
Appreciate it. Thanks, sir.
So Mayor Geraldine Sam I've known her since I was about 12 years old. Even growing up in Clear Lake and Dickinson, she was a firecracker for the whole county, particularly specifically when it came to the NAACP and working in the community. She was an amazing Democrat and even a more amazing Republican. She was known for both. So she was known for working across the aisle. Miss Geraldine, what can I say? I talked to her about 2 weeks ago. She was in frail health then, and she kept saying, get the people to the polls. Let's support our mayor. And she was disheartened to see her beloved Lamarque so divided. She was a point of inspiration for me. I didn't know that would be our last conversation, but she encouraged us to fight on and to remain positive and to keep the city united. And in her honor, we will do exactly that. We will work to keep the city united. We will consider our community, because that's what Geraldine would have wanted. We talked about a park named after her. I think there's two amazing women that we have not honored, and that is Kay Bailey Hutchinson, who is a daughter of Lamarque. We have nothing named after her. And then, of course, I hope in the near future that we would consider doing something for Geraldine as well. But those are, being a woman in politics is not easy. And they were both trailblazers for their times. And so I look forward to honoring her and celebrating both of them in the near future. Thanks, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you, Kim. We definitely wanted to hear from your perspective. She was your constituent. And we value your opinion. There's nothing further. I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn. Is that right, Kiara? Kiara says it's time to go. We'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. We stand adjourned.